What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance, Season 11, Episode 4, Love is the Absence of Judgment, whatever the hell that means. Let's get started with Juan and Jessica. So it is his very first morning in Wyoming. They wake up and they decide to take advantage of the children still being sleeping. They decide to go ahead and have some adult time together in bed. So I'm not understanding. Like I said, the kids are still asleep, but there are no doors to any of these bedrooms. The children's room is right next to theirs. I think there's I don't know if there's a door that separates the children's rooms from their room, or if it's just a doorway with no door that's between their room and the kids' rooms. I don't know what's going on in this house. All I know is that there are no doors. And the children's rooms is right next to their room. So because the kids are still asleep, they decide to take advantage of that, like I said before, and they decide to have some sexy time. Okay, good for them. The only reason why I'm even mentioning this is because they felt the need to tell us. So moving on from there, after that, she takes them on a tour of the little town that she lives in. And the kids are not with them. So I don't know who the hell is watching the children because they're not with them. So she's taking them on this little tour of her town. And it's a very small town. There's like one main street. There's like 6 restaurants, one movie theater. It's your typical Mayberry type of town. And so I guess Juan was observing how there's like really not much going on in this town. And she tries to justify her little city there by saying that this is just like it is on the cruise ship that you work on. It's just like that. And I've been on cruises, and cruises are they're pretty packed. The ones that I've been on, at least, they tend to be pretty packed, full of people, and there's always something to do on the ship and off the ship. So I don't know what she's talking about, that her little town is exactly like the way life is on a cruise ship. Maybe if it's a cruise ship where there's not that many people, I can imagine, maybe that's what she's referring to. But the cruise ships that I have been on, they have been packed to the gill, full of people, and there's always something to do. It's like 24 hours around the clock. Everything is open, just about everything is open 24/7. At night, there's different types of nightclubs you can go to, comedy clubs that you can go to. There's a lot going on off and on the ship. So he tried to tell her, no, I don't think it's just like a cruise ship, because when you get off of a ship, the towns that you're in, there's like tons of restaurants, tons of shops. It's not just one or two. Like, what are you talking about? It's like a cruise ship. So I don't know why Jessica said that. It makes her look very delusional. You live in a small town. You live in Mayberry, USA, girl, and that's okay. Don't make it what it's not. It's perfectly okay. Later on that night, they go out with Jessica's friends, one of them being Megan. Now, Megan is the one that has the biggest issue with Juan. Megan, for some reason, is not over Juan cheating on Jessica, even though Jessica is over it, because Juan tells us that him and Jessica had talked about his infidelity, and Jessica made her decision to stay with him. So Jessica, either it doesn't bother her or it doesn't bother her enough to leave him. So I'm not exactly sure why Megan is like really down in the dumps about this and is going to interrogate Juan as if Juan is her man. So they're sitting at the bar, all of them, and she brings up the infidelity and she wants to know what happened. Now, at first, Juan very respectfully tells Megan, it's none of your business. Me and Jessica, we've dealt with it. But Megan is very relentless. And she's like, no, I want to know what happened. What did you do with this girl? Like, what really went down? So after her badgering him incessantly about this, he finally caves and says, well, yes, I did mess up. And so then Megan says, well, what did you do? And Juan says, no, Megan says, what did you do? Did you sleep with that girl? And Juan says, I did. And Megan damn near fell out. Now, I'm pretty sure Megan suspected that he did sleep with this girl. So I don't know why she's having like a heart attack over this, especially since Juan is not even her man. Now, I feel like if Megan has an issue with whatever the hell Juan did, then she needs to take up that issue with Jessica. And Jessica needs to lay down the law. She needs to let that girl know, hey, I know what he did. I've decided to still stay with him, and it is what it is. So you can accept it or not accept it, but don't harass my man about it. That's what I feel like Jessica should have handled it. But Jessica was sitting there next to Juan, witnessing all of this, and she was completely mute, didn't say anything, didn't stand up for her man, didn't try to put her friend in place because it's none of the friend's business. I don't understand friends who are overly invested in their friends' relationships, because when your friend comes to you and says, "Oh, my boyfriend cheated on me and I feel so horrible," and you're being a good friend and you're giving them the shoulder to lean on and you're trying to give them really good advice and you're trying to uplift them and help them feel better about themselves, the friend who's in that cheating relationship will go right back to the dude that cheated on her. So you're still upset because this dude cheated on your friend, but your friend now is over it. So that's why I feel like friends should just stay out of other friends' business when it comes to their relationships. The friends who are in the relationships, they accept all kinds of crap. Now, the friends are trying to be good friends by letting their girl know you're better than this, you deserve better than this. And you're going to be so like having this feeling of unresolved anger when you're seeing your friend stay with the guy that is constantly cheating on them. So just get over it. Don't even involve yourself. If your friend comes to you and says, "Hey, look, this is what my man did," okay, be that listening ear and like keep it at that. And be like, "Girl, hopefully everything will work out for the best," and leave it at that. Because you get so heavily invested in their drama and they've moved past their drama. They're happy little lovebirds now, and you're still angry, like the way Megan is. This whole entire scene made Megan look absolutely nuts because Jessica has decided to stay with Juan. She's walking through their little town, holding his hand, having sex with them first thing in the morning after she made him eggs and bananas. And you're still upset about what happened eons ago, about him cheating with this girl, however long ago it was. You're still upset about it. You have unresolved issues about it. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, Megan, I'm going to need you to get over it. And then the next time that this girl comes and tells you that Juan cheated on her, just nod your head and be like, "Girl, I don't know what to tell you, but I hope things work out for the best." Let's move on to Joan and her hobosexual. So Joan wakes up, very first morning in America, and they're laying in bed with her hobosexual and they're talking about getting their own place. And the hobosexual says, well, yeah, of course, getting my own place is a priority, but he can't afford it right now. So then he tells us, the hobosexual, he tells us that, if he moves out, he's going to really miss his mom. Like, where are you moving to? China? You're going to be living right there, most likely in the very same city, possibly the same block as your mom. And you're probably going to still be seeing her every day. So they go downstairs. No, he goes downstairs because his mom is cooking breakfast. And his mom is like, "Where's Joan?" And Greg says, she's upstairs taking a shower. And the mom was like, "Again?" And I'm like, "What do you mean again? This is a brand new day. The last shower she took was the day before or the night before. So now it's morning, and like most people do, they'll wake up and they'll take a shower. Like, what are you talking about again?" As if this is like her 10th shower of the day. And so the mom was like, "Well, how many showers does she need to take a day?" And then the hobosexual says something about how in Uganda they don't have hot water. So she's trying to take advantage of having hot water here. And the mom didn't like that at all because the mom was like, "Look, I'm the only one working in this house. I'm paying the bills. And y'all can't be using up all my water and all of my electricity and gas and hot water and all this other stuff." Absolutely bananas. Okay, absolutely bananas that Greg brings his soon to be wife into this type of an environment. That's why if you don't have your own place and steady income, you have no business getting a wife, especially a wife that will not be able to pull her own weight for a while until she gets her citizenship stuff taken care of. So the fact that you're adding on an additional burden to your mom, you're making your soon to be wife live in this type of controlled environment makes no sense to me at all. And I don't understand how Joan could have agreed to anything like this unless her hobosexual just really wasn't upfront and honest about what the situation really was. I don't know if Joan knew that this was probably going to be like almost a permanent arrangement for her. At least this is how it's going to be for a while because it's going to be forever for him to move out of his mom's house. Or if Greg told her that this was very temporary, just give me a couple of months, we're going to get our own place. But y'all, the plot thickens. So over breakfast, the mom questions the number of showers and how hot was the water that she used. Like, was she using the hot water when she was taking a shower? And so Joan says, well, I took a shower last night because, I have to go to bed feeling fresh. And then I took a shower in the morning, to wake up and get my day started and be freshened up for the day. Like, what are you talking about? How many showers did I take? And did she use hot water? Of course she used hot water. So the mom was like, well, I looked at my bill. I looked at my utility bill or whatever, and it has skyrocketed. Okay, this is her very first morning. She hasn't even been there. She hasn't been here a full 24 hours. Like, what are you talking about? You looked at your bill and it skyrocketed. So, the mom also tells her that she needs to help Greg keep his room tidy. Why would she do that? He can't keep his own room tidy? This grown 40-something-year-old man can't tidy up his own little room? Like, what? See, Joan, girl, honey, I understand you're trying to be real polite. I would have had questions. I would have been like, excuse me? With all due respect, like, I'm supposed to help him keep his room. Like, what? Why would I have to do that? This is an able-bodied, full-grown adult. Why would I have to help him keep his room tidy? If anything, he should have kept the room tidy for her. Moving on, they go grocery shopping. While they're grocery shopping, she's talking about how expensive food is in America compared to Uganda. And then talking about, financials led him to tell her that he was actually offered a state government job for the state of New York, and he turned it down. And the reason why he turned it down was because he wanted to spend more time with Joan, in her first few months, weeks, whatever, in America. He felt like he should be spending time with her. Joan was like, you did what? You turned down a job knowing that we need money and we need to move out of your mom's house, and you turned down a job? And he was like, yeah, because I thought it was really important for me to spend time with you. You want to lollygag around with Joan instead of going out there making money to get her out of your mother's house. So you don't have to sleep with the door open at night, so that you don't have to count the number of showers and check the temperature of the water. So you don't have to hear your mom constantly nag about her utilities skyrocketing. You took down a job, girl. This is the reason why I call him a hobosexual, because this is typical hobosexual behavior. Instead of earning a living for you and your soon-to-be wife that you brought over here, and knowing that she can't work, you decide to decline the job so you and her can just lay around in the bed all day with the door wide open while your mom is walking by peeping in. Moving on to Mark and Mina. It's the next day. Um, they had sex the night before after their I think they had an argument the night before. Well, they had sex the night before. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because, like I said before with the other couple, they felt the need to tell us about it. So this particular day, Mark has planned a barbecue, and he invited a bunch of the neighbors over, and all the neighbors are like retirement age. And even Mina, makes mention of this. Like, Mark was actually the youngest one there, and he's like 58 years old. Everybody there was, geriatric. And so as she's talking to the neighbors, getting to know them, and they're getting to know her, she mentions to one of the neighbors that she's thinking about having another child. I have no idea why Mina would talk about such personal things with these people that she just met, other than the producers told her to have a scene. So she tells one of the neighbors that she wants to have a second child with Mark, but Mark has to get authorization from his daughter, Jordan. And so one of the neighbors was like, well, Jordan and Mark, they're a team. They're a unit. Huh? Okay, so you're saying that adult children should have a say-so in whether or not their parents should have more children. They should like all have a meeting, a conference call or whatever, and the adult children have to give their approval, their stamp of approval on whether or not their own parents want to have children with their new spouses, especially when said adult child doesn't even live with her dad. Now, I could understand if Jordan was living with Mark and Mina and, she felt like, well, if you're going to be having another child, I just want to make it clear that I'm not going to be a part of raising, babysitting, changing diapers or feeding or getting up in the middle of the night for your baby. I can understand that because, it's going to be a burden on her too if she's living in the same household. But if she's not even living there, why would her father have to run it? Did he run it by her when they had little Maria? I'm confused. So this neighbor is saying, well, they're a unit. It's kind of weird that, he has to confer with his adult daughter with what him and his wife are going to do with their reproductive systems. That's just very weird to me. And it's very strange that the neighbor thinks that this is normal. Why can't people just be honest? It's got nothing to do with whether or not she has an issue with her dad having a child with Mina. Her issue is, Dad, the more kids you have, the less money I'm going to inherit. That's the main issue. Talk about that. And just be like, hey, can you just guarantee that I get a certain portion of your inheritance? Write that in your will that no matter how many kids you have, that my portion will not be affected. Be upfront, be real about it. I know it sounds cold, it sounds crass, but let's just be real about it. Let's stop beating around the bush and talking in innuendos and having these fake conversations. Let's put it all out on the damn table and let's be real about it. Or be like, okay, Dad, if you continue to have children, what is happening with my inheritance? How much am I expected to get? Oh, by the way, they didn't have sex the night of the hot tub argument. They had sex the night of the barbecue. So after the neighbors left, that's when she decided to reward him and give him some. So they go on a picnic, and on this picnic they talk about Jordan and the tension between Mina and Jordan, and the fact that Mark really wants his daughter and his soon-to-be wife to get along. And so Mark suggests that Mina should go talk to Jordan herself. And Mina was like, why do I have to go talk to her? And I'm thinking, Mark, are you crazy? This has to be for a scene. The fact that Mark wants Mina and his daughter Jordan to have a meeting, this has to be because the producers are suggesting this, because this makes no sense. These two women are just too combative to really have a meeting together. There's too much tension between them, especially since Mina is the kind of woman that pops off and just says whatever the hell she wants to say. It just didn't make any sense because this is Mark's daughter. You want your daughter to accept your soon-to-be wife, then you need to have that conversation with her. So the consensus seems to be in his family that Mina is using him for a green card and for money. And Mina was like, why would I be using you for a green card? I come from Paris. Okay, I come from Paris, France. We have the Eiffel Tower. We have croissants. Why in the world would I be using you for a green card to come to America? So, okay, then if it's not A, then maybe it's B. You're using him for his money. So Mark really wants Mina to prove to his family, especially to Jordan, his daughter, that she is not using Mark for anything at all. And that's not going to go well because they're not going to see eye to eye. So it's just stupid that Mark would suggest something like this. I can only assume that they're doing it because of the producers. Moving on. Aaliyah and Shawn. We do remember Aaliyah and Shawn from 90 Day Fiance, Love in Paradise. Aaliyah was born Douglas and then transitioned to Aaliyah and is living as a full-time trans woman. And she's from Brazil. And so Shawn, they met. I forgot how they met, but they met at some point. But when they met when Aaliyah was still Douglas. And so Shawn, who was married to a woman for 14 years, had 3 children, I think, with this woman, came out as gay after his divorce. And so when he met Douglas and he was attracted to Douglas as a man. Well, Douglas decided to transition into becoming a woman and became Aaliyah. So their main story on 90 Day The Last Resort was that Shawn was trying to get used to or trying to acclimate himself to this new person because he's not attracted to women. He's attracted to men. And he was attracted to Douglas, who was a man. And so he has to, and Aaliyah was trying to convince Shawn, I'm the same person, I'm the same spirit, the same soul, the same mind. It's just that the aesthetics are different. So if you really love me for me, you're going to love me no matter what I look like. So that was like the main plot line for them. So I guess Shawn has decided to accept Aaliyah, and now they're working on getting Aaliyah to the United States. Now, when their segment started, it actually started sometime in the future, where they're having a conversation about Aaliyah standing him up at the wedding. Aaliyah left him at the altar. So evidently, Aaliyah got approved for her visa, came to the United States. The wedding date was set. And the day of the wedding, everybody shows up, and Aaliyah never walked down the aisle. So they're having a conversation about this. The day, sometime after the wedding, Shawn is asking Aaliyah, like, what the hell? Why did you leave me standing at our own wedding? But then they take a pause from that and they rewind it all the way back. We go back in time to 3 months prior, where Aaliyah is still living in Brazil, but she's about to go for her visa interview. Now, the whole issue here is, how is she going to present herself at the visa interview? Because when they started the process for the fiance visa, for the K1 visa, when they started that whole process, Aaliyah was still Douglas. So all the paperwork and whatnot, I'm assuming, have Douglas, male. Now that Aaliyah has transitioned and she's up for her interview, she's very distressed and full of anxiety, because she's like, I don't want to have to go to this interview as Douglas, because I have, Douglas is dead and I've buried Douglas, and I made a promise to myself to never be Douglas again. I am Aaliyah now. So the day of the interview comes and she decides to go to the interview as Aaliyah. She's like, this is who I am. They're going to take it or leave it. I think Shawn was probably of the mindset to do whatever you got to do to get your visa. And if you think that you have a better chance as Douglas, maybe you should appear as Douglas, because it's all about getting the visa, fake it till you make it kind of situation. I don't know. But the day of the visa, she decides to show up. The day of the visa interview, she decides to show up as Aaliyah. So we see her walking into the building, and that's where their segment ended. So we don't know exactly how it went. Moving on from there, Motty and Stevie. So they arrive at Stevie's house, and the first thing that Motty notices in Stevie's apartment or her house is she's an artist, so she does a lot of painting, and her main object of artistry, I guess, is boobs. She loves painting boobs, and she's got all these pictures, these abstract paintings of breasts all over the place. And so Motty was like, what the hell is going on? What is this? And Steve's like, well, I told you that I like to paint, and this is what I like to paint. So he's very uncomfortable with that. He doesn't know what the hell is going on, because he's like, in Iran, if you have these type of paintings in your home, you can be arrested. So he's got to deal with that. Then he's got to deal with her damn cat. She has a cat, and he's like, well, in Iran, we keep our animals outside. They're never in the house. And she kind of makes him pet the cat, which he does, but then he has to go wash his hands immediately, because he's like, you know what? I've been raised to believe that if you touch an animal, you're going to get sick. So you have to wash your hands right after. So there's a whole lot going on with that. Anywho, let's get into the meat and the potatoes of it. So she takes him on a little tour of Hattiesburg. And while they're on this tour, because later on that night, they're supposed to meet with her dad and the rest of her family. So on this little tour that she's giving him of her city, she tells him, I do have to warn you that when you meet my dad didn't know anything about you until the day that you arrived. I didn't tell my dad anything at all about you. My dad had no idea that I was even in a relationship. So the first time that he knew of you was the day that you arrived. And so, of course, Motty's upset about this. He's like, what the hell? Like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you, like, setting me up like this? And she says to him, Stevie says, well, I thought I would have more time to tell my dad. And he's like, girl, you had a year. How did you not have enough time to tell your dad about me? You had a whole damn year. Like, what are you doing? And so he feels some kind of way about this, because he's like, this whole situation now, it's like it's been built on lies. She's been lying to her dad the whole entire time about our relationship by not telling him. So it's a lie by omission. And he's like not having that at all. He's really upset about that. And I can only imagine, because he already knows that the dad isn't really like feeling warm and fuzzy about the fact that he's from Iran, because of the tension and the issues between the United States and Iran. So the father is already having a negative image of his country. Now his daughter has been lying to him about being with a man from Iran. And I'm hoping that her dad has enough sense not to judge everybody from Iran by the stuff that he's been seeing on the news. Like, I hope he has enough sense, because what if people from other countries, like if the only thing they saw about the United States is like school shootings? And so, like, if their child is dating someone from America, they're going to be like, oh my God, are they going to come to a school and try to, do all these crazy things to our schools? No, that's ridiculous to try to judge an entire group of people by the things that you see on the news, these isolated incidents that you see on the news. So I'm hoping that her dad has enough sense to not see it that way. Let's move on to Ammani, Steve, and Annie. So Ammani, the married couple, they've arrived in Mexico to meet their girlfriend, Annie, and they arrived during the time when Mexico is celebrating the Day of the Dead. So there's all kinds of festivities going on in the streets. And so they're walking around the street and they're looking for her, and then they finally see her, and, they hug, kiss, blah, blah, blah. So they asked a complete stranger to take a picture of them, which the stranger did. And then I think the stranger asked them, so something like, what are y'all up to, or what are y'all doing, or whatever the stranger asked. They felt like this was the doorway to talk about the fact that they are a polyamorous relationship. So they're like, oh, we're married and this is our girlfriend. And the stranger was like, oh, okay, that's a whole lot. Nice seeing you. Bye. I'm thinking, why do you feel the need to divulge so much information to complete strangers? Why don't you just say, okay, yeah, we're a couple and we're here visiting our friend? Like, why do you have to say that y'all are in a polyamorous relationship? Why is that everybody's business? Anywho, so while they're walking through the streets and stuff, they're talking about how people are staring at them, and they get all this attention, and because they're all three holding hands, right? And so Ammani talks about how she's so sick and tired of the stigma that people who are polyamorous, of their whole relationship is based on sex, and how this is like a stereotype and it's a misrepresentation. But then as soon as she says this to us, what do? They go straight to the hotel, probably to have sex. And not only that, but she pulls out, some very, very sexy, risque lingerie that they have bought for Annie. Okay, so on one end of your mouth, you're talking about how dare people over sexualize us. And then in the next breath, you're talking about how you bought all this lingerie for Annie and you can't wait for her to put it on. Anywho, that's what that is. Just a walking contradiction. Anyway, thank you so much, y'all, for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.